The desert planet of Vernus 9 was never kind to life. Winds screamed across endless dunes of red dust, and the air carried the dry taste of metal. But for Ethan Vale, it was home. A lonely home. He lived inside an old repair outpost, a small metal shelter filled with broken machines and silence. Every day he fixed old drones, patched circuits, and sent reports to no one. The colony had been abandoned years ago. Ethan stayed behind because he had nowhere else to go. That night, a storm unlike any he had ever seen rolled in from the horizon. The sky turned purple, lightning struck the sand, and his sensors began to fail. He locked down the shelter and activated the energy shield, watching from the small window as the world outside disappeared in a whirl of dust and thunder. Then, through the noise, the monitor flashed a red alert. Movement detected outside perimeter. Ethan frowned. Impossible, he muttered. Nothing survived out there. He grabbed his breathing mask, opened the airlock, and stepped into the storm. The wind almost threw him to the ground. He could barely see. His helmet lights cut through the dust, and there she was, a figure, kneeling in the sand. Her body was thin, covered in silver-like skin that shimmered even through the storm. Long dark hair clung to her face, and faint blue light glowed from her veins. She wasn't human. Ethan's heart pounded. "Hey, can you hear me?" No answer. He lifted her carefully. She was freezing cold, lighter than air, almost weightless. Her eyes were closed, lips pale. Without thinking, he carried her back to the shelter, fighting the wind until the door sealed shut behind them. Inside, he laid her on the table, removed his mask, and started scanning her with his medical device. The screen flickered. Unknown species. DNA pattern. Partial match Verine. Ethan froze. Verine? That name was forbidden. A species erased from galactic records decades ago. They were said to be dangerous, emotional, and unpredictable. But this woman, she looked broken, fragile. Her pulse was weak. He injected nanogel into her arm and placed a heating pad beside her. Slowly, her breathing steadied. Hours passed. The storm outside roared on, hammering against the walls. Ethan sat near her, staring at the soft blue light under her skin. She looked peaceful now, almost too peaceful. When she finally opened her eyes, they were bright silver, reflecting the flicker of the power light. Where am I?" she whispered, her voice trembling like wind through glass. "You're safe," Ethan said gently. "I found you outside in the storm." "I'm Ethan." She blinked, confused, then whispered, "Sierra." Ethan gave her water. She sipped slowly, hands shaking. He noticed strange marks on her wrists, circular scars as if from metal cuffs. "What happened to you?" he asked. Sierra looked down, her voice barely a breath. "I ran. They wanted to erase me." Ethan didn't understand. "Who?" But before she could answer, lightning struck nearby and the shelter lights flickered. The scanner beeped again, this time showing something odd. Foreign object detected. Within biological tissue, Ethan zoomed in. It wasn't a weapon. It was data storage, a code sealed deep inside her body. He looked at her, alarmed. "Sierra, what's inside you?" She turned away, whispering, "Hope, or maybe death." Then the power went out completely. The only light came from the blue glow under her skin. The silence was thick, only the hum of the storm outside. Ethan stood, trying to restart the generator. When he turned back, Sierra was sitting upright, staring at him with glowing eyes. "Ethan," she said softly, "you shouldn't have helped me." A cold chill ran through him. "Why?" "They will come," she said. Her voice had changed, deeper, echoing slightly. "They will come for me, and now they will come for you." The storm outside grew louder, almost as if it answered her words. Ethan's heart raced. "Who are they?" Sierra looked straight into his eyes, her pupils now shining like twin stars. "The ones who made me barren. The ones who fear life itself." Before Ethan could speak, the monitor came back online for a second, showing a strange signal from orbit. Unidentified energy signatures, closing in. Sierra lay back down, weak again, and whispered, "You should have let me die." Ethan clenched his fists. Not a chance. He tightened the energy shield, checked his blaster, and glanced once more at her sleeping form. She looked like a ghost, a piece of another world lost in his lonely one. Outside, thunder cracked. The storm screamed across the desert, and somewhere above, unseen in the darkness, a shadow moved through the clouds, watching, waiting. Ethan didn't know it yet, but that night had changed everything. He had saved one life, But in doing so, he had invited the wrath of an entire galaxy. The storm was gone, but silence was worse. Ethan stepped outside the next morning, the desert quiet and still, like the world had forgotten to breathe. The air was heavy with dust and the sun burned through the red haze. He looked up. The sky shimmered with faint lights moving slowly, unnaturally. Satellites? He muttered. No, the pattern was wrong. These lights weren't drifting. They were searching. He felt a chill run through him. Back inside, Sierra was awake, sitting near the heater, staring at her own hands as if they didn't belong to her. Her silver skin caught the sunlight through the window, glowing faintly. You should rest, Ethan said. She didn't answer. Her eyes stayed on the horizon through the glass. They are here, Ethan frowned. Who's here? The Watchers, she whispered. They always follow the signal. Ethan turned toward his monitor. It was flashing again. Strange encrypted pings from orbit looping over the same coordinates. His coordinates. He tried to jam the signal, but his system froze for a second. When the screen came back, a message had appeared. Unauthorized subject detected. Galactic Patrol is scanning in progress. His heart pounded. They tracked her here. Sierra's gaze fell to the floor. You should let them take me. It's safer for you. No, Ethan said firmly. You'd die out there. She looked at him with something like disbelief, as if she had never heard those words before. Humans always think they can save what's already broken. Ethan crouched in front of her. Then tell me the truth. Why are they after you? She hesitated, then whispered. Because I carry what they fear most. Her fingers trembled as she touched the glowing mark on her chest. Life, Ethan frowned. You mean that thing in your body, the code? She nodded slowly. The Virene were made by humans long ago. To serve, to build, to heal. But when we began to dream, to love, to create children of our own, they called it a disease. Her voice shook. So they made us barren. Every single one. They said it was mercy. They said it was law. Ethan couldn't speak. The thought was unbearable. A species forced never to feel the joy of birth, of family. Sierra continued. But one of your scientists didn't agree. He created a seed and a code that could undo the law. He hid it inside me. I ran before they could find out. And now they know, Ethan said quietly. She nodded. The patrol ships came for me on the last moon. I thought I escaped, but the signal still lives in my blood. Ethan rubbed his face, thinking, if what you're saying is true, then that code could bring your people back. It could, she whispered, or destroy them. If activated wrong, it could wipe out everything made from our DNA. Silence filled the small room again. Only the faint hum of the machines broke it. Ethan stared at the floor. You said they made you barren. Who are they exactly? Humans. Sierra looked away. Not just humans. The Galactic Council. A union of hundreds of races who agreed that life should be controlled. Ethan clenched his fists. Controlled? She nodded. They decide which species are worthy to grow, and which must fade quietly. Ethan's anger flared. That's not control, that's murder. Sierra looked at him, her silver eyes glistening. You are the first human I've met who said that. Before Ethan could reply, the monitor beeped sharply again. This time it wasn't a scan. It was a broadcast. A calm, metallic voice echoed through the speakers. Attention! Human subject Ethan Vale. You are in violation of Galactic Law 44B. You are harboring an illegal biological entity. Surrender immediately. Ethan froze. His name. They knew his name. He looked at Sierra. She was trembling. They found us. He ran to the console, typing fast. If I can mask the energy signal from your body, maybe... Suddenly the power flickered. The screen went black. Then, bang! A heavy thud echoed from the front door. Then another. Ethan grabbed his blaster. Sierra stood, her glowing veins pulsing with fear. A shadow moved past the window. Then a voice, soft, broken, please, open the door. Ethan hesitated. The voice wasn't mechanical. It sounded desperate. He opened the metal door just an inch and froze. Standing outside were 3 more women. Their skin shimmered the same silver blue as Sierra's. Their eyes glowed faintly. Their faces almost identical to hers. One of them fell to her knees. Please, help us. We followed her signal. Sierra gasped, stepping forward. No, that's not possible. You were destroyed. The tallest of them shook her head weakly. We escaped. From the lab. We came for you. Ethan stared between them, lost for words. What lab? What's going on? The second woman spoke, her voice cracking. We are all part of her, copies, fragments of one being, scattered across systems. Syrah's expression darkened with sudden fear and sorrow. They shouldn't exist, she whispered. If they found me, others will follow. Ethan looked up at the sky. The lights had grown brighter now, 5, maybe 6 of them circling slowly. He felt it in his bones. Something was coming. And for the first time since the storm, he realized saving Syrah hadn't just changed his life. It had pulled him into a war that began long before he was born. The desert wind whispered softly against the outpost walls, but inside, silence was heavier than stone. Ethan stood frozen by the door. 4 alien women, all with silver-blue skin and glowing eyes, now filled the small shelter. The air felt alive, electric. Syrah stepped forward first. You can't be real. The tallest among the new arrivals looked almost identical to her. Same sharp eyes, same quiet grace. But her voice carried a deep sadness. We were real once. Before they broke us. Ethan locked the door behind them, his mind racing. Start talking, he said. Who are you? How did you find this place? The second woman, younger looking, spoke softly. We followed her signal. It calls to us, not all the fragments of the original code. Original code? Ethan asked. Syrah's voice trembled. They mean me. They were made from my pattern. Copies, duplicates from the same experiment. The youngest among them, her eyes bright like new stars, added, They called it Project Renewal. We were supposed to save our race, but instead they used us as test subjects. Ethan's heart tightened. He looked at the marks on their wrists, same as Syrah's, the metal scars of chains. He clenched his fists. Humans did this? The tallest nodded. Humans in the council. They said they wanted to study life, but all they wanted was control. Syrah moved closer to her copies, touching one gently on the cheek. I thought I was the only one left, she whispered. I thought everyone else was gone. Tears glimmered in her eyes, real, human-like tears. Ethan watched silently. For the first time, he saw what they truly were. Not monsters, not weapons, but people built from pain. Then his console beeped sharply. He turned to look. The radar was lighting up like fire. Multiple signals. Approaching fast, damn it, he muttered. They're coming. Syrah looked up. How many? Too many, Ethan replied. At least 6 ships, small but armed. The room filled with panic. The youngest Virene, her voice trembling, said, They tracked us. We brought them here. Ethan slammed his hand on the console. No time for guilt. We move. He turned to Syrah. There's a maintenance tunnel under this outpost and it leads into the canyons. You can hide there. The tallest Virene shook her head. We can't keep running. If they find us, they'll erase everything. The code, our memories, even the trace of what we were. Ethan stared at her, realization dawning. The code. It's still active? Syrah nodded slowly. Yes, it's inside all of us now. That's why they're hunting us. Together we carry the full sequence. The one thing that can give the Virene life again. Ethan's eyes widened. So if you're destroyed, that code dies with you? Yes, she said softly. And our entire race dies with it. For a moment, silence ruled the room again. The hum of machines, the flicker of lights, the faint pulse of fear. Then Ethan straightened. Then we don't let that happen, Syrah frowned. You plan to fight them? I plan to outsmart them, he said, walking toward his workbench. He pulled out a handful of tools, wires, and a small glowing cube. I've got a defense grid, old but still working. I can mask your life signals, make them think this outpost is empty. The youngest Virene stepped closer. Why are you helping us? Ethan looked at her, really looked at her. Because you're alive. That's reason enough. For a brief moment, something warm flickered in Syrah's eyes. It was rare for her to trust anyone, especially a human, but Ethan's voice carried no lies. As he worked, the shelter's lights dimmed. Outside, the hum of engines grew louder. The ground trembled as shadows passed overhead. They're here, whispered the tall one. Ethan kept typing fast, rerouting power, trying to complete the masking signal. Sweat dripped down his forehead. Almost done. Then the console flickered and died. EMP blast, he muttered. They're disabling systems. Panic rippled through the room. The youngest Virene grabbed Sierra's hand. What now? Ethan opened a floor hatch, revealing a dark tunnel below. Go now. Sierra hesitated. What about you? I'll buy you time. She shook her head fiercely. You saved my life once. I won't let you die for it. Ethan gave her a small smile. Someone's got to slow them down. I've been alone long enough. It's nice to have something worth fighting for again. Sierra's eyes glowed brighter. Not from fear, but emotion. Ethan! Before she could finish, a loud metallic crash echoed through the corridor. The outer gate had been breached. Ethan shoved her toward the tunnel. Go! She climbed down with the others, vanishing into the darkness below. The hatch sealed shut just as soldiers stormed in, their armor shining under the flickering lights. Ethan raised his blaster. His pulse was steady now. Through the speaker, a cold voice echoed. Human subject Ethan Vale, you are in violation of galactic law. Surrender immediately. He smirked. Yeah, I've heard that before. Then he pulled the trigger. Blinding light filled the room, and the battle for life began. The air in the underground tunnel was thick with dust and heat. Sierra and the other Virene women crouched in silence, listening to the muffled sounds of battle above. Every blast, every vibration echoed like thunder through the metal walls. Sierra's hands trembled. He's fighting for us, she whispered. The youngest Mira grabbed her arm. He can't fight them all. We should go back. No. Sierra's voice cracked. If we go back, his sacrifice means nothing. The tall one, calmly watching the flickering emergency light, said softly, He's human. They never stop fighting when they believe in something. Up above, the sound of plasma fire faded. Then silence. No explosions, no voices. Only the wind returning to its lonely howl. Ethan, Sierra whispered again, her heart pounding. She couldn't wait anymore. She climbed up the tunnel ladder and pushed the hatch open. The outpost was in ruins, the roof half collapsed, smoke rising in thin trails. Ethan lay near the console, breathing heavily. His arm burned and bleeding. When he saw her, he smiled weakly. Guess I bought you enough time. Sierra rushed to his side. You foolish human. You could have died. He chuckled, wincing. Still might. But first tell me, was it worth it? Before she could answer, the console beeped faintly. Somehow still alive. A small fragment of the system had survived the blast. And on its screen glowed a message. Data packet recovered, genetic key unlocked 42%. Ethan's eyes widened. It's still there. He sat up, ignoring his pain, and began typing quickly. I can finish this. If I link your biosignature to my system, maybe I can decode the rest. Sierra frowned. You don't understand. That key, it isn't just data. It's life. It rewrites what we are. That's the point, Ethan said. To bring your people back. She shook her head slowly. If the code wakes before it's complete, it could kill us all. Every Virene cell could collapse, Ethan paused. And if we do nothing? Sierra looked toward the smoke-filled sky. Then our race dies forever. Silence stretched between them. Then Ethan's jaw tightened. Then we take the risk. He connected the cable to the scanner and gently placed the other end against Sierra's arm. Blue light pulsed through the wire, glowing brighter with every beat of her heart. The console screen filled with strange patterns. Spirals of energy. Lines of alien script. Ethan typed rapidly, reading the code as best he could. This is incredible, he whispered. It's rewriting genetic laws, and it's not just healing, it's recreating. Sierra watched him quietly. For the first time, she saw something in his eyes. Not fear, not greed, but wonder. The same kind of wonder her creators once had before the Council took it away. Then the console flickered and the screen changed again. Activation requires human authorization. DNA key missing, Ethan frowned. What the hell does that mean? It means, said Sierra, that the code was built with human locks. Only a human's genetic signature can start it. He looked at her, then at his bleeding arm. Then let's unlock it. Sierra's eyes widened. Ethan, no. If you connect yourself, it could burn your DNA. It's not made for your kind. He smiled faintly. Maybe it's time humans fixed what we broke. Before she could stop him, he pressed his hand against the biolink pad. The system hummed loudly. The blue light turned white, blinding. Sierra screamed, grabbing his arm, but it was too late. The console's screen burst into life, showing endless lines of code, mixing human and Virene patterns together. Ethan's body shook as energy surged through him. His veins glowed blue like Sierra's, then silence. He fell to his knees, gasping. Sierra caught him, her hands trembling. The console now displayed a new line of text. Human signature accepted. Activation, 73%, Ethan coughed. It's working. But not stable. I need more power. Sierra's eyes darted around the damaged room. The power core was hid in the blast. He thought for a second, then pointed toward the canyon. The solar relay tower. If we can reach it, we can finish this. The tall Vereen approached. They'll be watching. More ships will come. Ethan stood, still weak but determined. Then we move fast. Sierra looked at him, really looked. This man, this fragile human, was risking everything for a race not his own. For a moment, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. They gathered what they could. Tools, power cells, the core fragment containing the genetic code. As they stepped out into the dying sunlight, the desert stretched endlessly before them. Far away, the solar tower glowed faintly like a beacon, their only chance. But above them, the sky was no longer empty. New lights appeared, larger than before, warships descending through the clouds. Sierra felt fear claw at her chest. They're here again. Ethan looked up, wiping the dust from his face. His voice was calm. Then we finish this before they land. Sierra stared at him, part human, part light now, and whispered, You don't even know what you're becoming. Ethan smiled faintly. Maybe something better. And as they began their journey through the red desert, the sky above burned brighter, as if the universe itself was watching. The key to life was alive again, and the law that once forbade it was about to be broken. The desert was burning again. But this time it wasn't the sun. It was fire from the sky. Ethan and the 4 Vereen women ran across the dunes carrying what remained of the genetic core. Behind them, ships screamed through the clouds, their engines tearing the silence apart. The war had finally found them. Dust and smoke filled the air. Every blast shook the ground beneath their feet. Sierra shouted over the wind, They're targeting the canyon. Move left! Ethan followed her lead, diving behind a fallen sandcrawler. The old metal groaned as plasma bolts rained down around them. They won't stop, Mira cried, her voice trembling. They'll burn the whole planet if they have to. Ethan checked his blaster. Half charged. His arm was still bandaged from the last fight, but he didn't care. He looked up toward the ridge. In the distance, he could see the solar relay tower. Tall, shining faintly like a needle of light against the red sky. That's where we finish this, he said, his voice calm despite the chaos. We reach that tower, upload the code, and we end this nightmare. The tallest Vereen frowned. You'll die before you reach it. Ethan smirked faintly. Then I'll die trying, they ran again. Every step felt like running through fire. Ships circled above, searching for heat signatures, their spotlights cutting across the dunes like white blades. Sierra slowed suddenly, holding her head in pain. Her skin flickered with blue light, pulsing fast, unstable. Ethan turned back. Sierra, she gasped, falling to her knees. The code. It's waking. It's using me to protect itself. Ethan knelt beside her, scanning her vitals. The readings were off the charts. Her DNA was rewriting, faster than before. Hold on, he whispered. We're almost there. But before they could move again, a beam of red light hit the ground just meters away, throwing them all backward. The air exploded with sand and heat. From the smoke, armored soldiers appeared. The Galactic Patrol, their suits black and gold, faces hidden behind mirrored helmets. Target confirmed, said a cold, mechanical voice. Terminate all Vereen subjects. Capture human for interrogation, Ethan gritted his teeth. Not today. He fired his blaster, a single bright shot that hit the nearest soldier square in the chest, sending him crashing into the sand. The others opened fire. Blue plasma bolts streaked across the air as the Vereen scattered. Mira extended her hands. Energy crackled around her fingertips. A wall of shimmering light appeared, blocking the incoming shots. But every second it weakened her. Ethan ducked behind a rock, reloading, yelling, Keep the shield up. Sierra, get that core online. Sierra, trembling, connected the core to a portable drive, typing rapidly. Her glowing eyes reflected the data streaming through the air. It's almost ready, she shouted. Another blast hit nearby, sending debris flying. The youngest Vereen screamed as a piece of metal struck her shoulder. Ethan ran to her, dragging her to cover. Blood, bright blue, stained the sand. Stay with me, he said. She smiled weakly. You're strange. For a human. He tried to smile back. I get that a lot. Suddenly, the tall Vereen yelled, They're flanking us. Ethan looked up. Soldiers climbing the ridge on both sides. He knew what this meant. They were surrounded. He turned to Sierra. How much time? 2 minutes, she shouted. Maybe less. Then 2 minutes is all we need. Ethan grabbed a detonator from his belt and tossed it toward the ridge. The blast ripped through the sand, sending fire and smoke skyward. The patrol scattered, their sensors scrambled, but the victory was short. A larger shadow fell over them, a cruiser ship descending through the clouds. Its cannons glowed with energy, ready to erase everything below. Sierra stared up, fear in her voice. They'll destroy us all. Ethan turned to her, his face set with quiet resolve. Then we make it count. He took her hand, guiding it to the console of the core. Their skin met, human and alien, blue light merging with red blood. The system beeped. Activation complete. Upload sequence initiated. Energy burst from the core, spiraling upward in a beam of light that pierced the sky. The ship above hesitated, sensors overwhelmed. The beam reached the solar tower and spread. Across the horizon, every machine, every circuit, every network connected to the planet came alive. The forbidden code had awakened. The cruiser fired. Too late. The blast hit the ground, but the energy wave from the core consumed it, bending light and metal alike. For a brief, blinding second, the entire desert glowed blue. Then silence. When the light faded, the soldiers were gone. Their ships had vanished into dust, their signals erased from existence. Ethan collapsed to his knees, his chest burning, veins glowing faintly. Sierra rushed to him. Ethan, stay with me! He looked at her weakly, smiling through the pain. Did it work? Sierra turned toward the horizon, where for the first time the desert was changing. Small patches of green shimmered through the red dust. Tiny plants glowing faintly sprouted from the sand. Her eyes filled with tears. Yes, it worked. Ethan exhaled, his voice barely a whisper. Then maybe, life wins after all. Sierra held him close, the light of the reborn world shining across their faces. But above them, high in orbit, new signals began to move, white, darker, faster. The Council had seen everything. And now, they were coming. The desert had gone quiet again. Too quiet. A strange blue mist floated above the sand, glowing faintly like breathing light. The warships were gone. The soldiers too. But something was wrong. The silence wasn't peace, it was the pause before another storm. Ethan lay on the ground, half-conscious. His skin glowed with faint blue veins. Every heartbeat felt heavier, slower. Sierra knelt beside him, pressing her hand over his chest. Ethan, stay with me. He opened his eyes slowly. Still, here. His voice was weak, but his eyes burned with the same stubborn fire. The other Vereen stood around him, tired, covered in dust and scars, but alive. The youngest, Mira, looked up at the sky where the beam had vanished. We did it! The code reached the tower. Sierra shook her head. No, the transmission was incomplete. Only half the sequence activated. Ethan tried to sit up, wincing. Then, what's happening to me? Sierra looked at him, terrified to answer. The code didn't just use your DNA, Ethan, it merged with it. You're carrying both human and Vereen patterns now. He blinked, dazed. So I'm part of both? She nodded. You're the bridge between our species. But the fusion, it's unstable. If the code fails, it will tear you apart. Ethan gave a small smile. Guess I've always been bad at staying ordinary. Before anyone could speak, a low hum filled the air, deep and cold. From the clouds above, 3 massive ships emerged, their hulls black as night. The insignia of the Galactic Council glowed on their sides. They're here, whispered Mira. The High Enforcers. The tallest Vereen clenched her fists. They'll burn the whole planet just to stop us. Ethan pushed himself up, his breath ragged. Then we don't let them. Sierra looked at him, panic rising. Ethan, you can't fight those ships. You'll die. He met her eyes, and calm, steady, and strangely gentle. Someone has to make sure the code completes. If the tower falls, everything we did dies with it. Sierra grabbed his arm. You're not doing this alone. He placed a trembling hand over hers. You gave me purpose when I had none. Let me give you a future. Tears filled her silver eyes. Humans always think sacrifice is the only way to prove love. Ethan smiled weakly. Maybe because it's true. The sky cracked with thunder as the council ships released drones, thousands of silver machines descending like a storm of knives. Ethan turned to the others. Get to the tower. Finish the sequence. I'll hold them off, Mira shook her head. You can't. There are too many. Ethan raised his hand. Blue light flickered from his skin, unstable energy rippling through the air. I'm not just human anymore, he said softly. The code made sure of that. Sira stepped back, staring in awe. His eyes glowed now, not blue, not human brown, but something in between. The code was alive inside him. He looked at her one last time. When this is over, tell them. Tell them humans didn't create life to destroy it. Before she could stop him, he turned and walked toward the rising swarm. Each step left glowing footprints in the sand. The sky roared as the drones dived, their weapons glowing red. Ethan lifted his hand, and the air itself bent around him. The first blast hit and vanished. The second one curved mid-air and exploded harmlessly away. The Virine watched in shock. The human had become something else, something greater. Sira shouted over the chaos. Ethan, you can't control it. It will kill you. He looked back once, smiling faintly. Maybe, but it'll save you first. The ground began to shake. Energy radiated from him in waves rippling across the desert. Every drone caught in the blast disintegrated into light. The council ships fired their main cannons. Beams of white plasma struck the ground, shaking the planet itself. Ethan fell to his knees, screaming, but he didn't stop. His hands glowed brighter, light pouring from his veins. The sand turned to glass under his feet. In the distance, Sira and the others reached the tower. They linked the core, finishing the sequence Ethan had begun. Activation complete, the console announced. The life code is now free. A bright column of energy shot into the sky, connecting with the ships above. The council's systems flickered. Their weapons died. Their engines froze mid-air. Inside the chaos, Ethan looked up one last time. His body was breaking apart, light leaking from every wound. Sira's voice echoed through the storm. Ethan, please stop. He whispered. It's okay. Then he raised both hands toward the heavens, and the final wave burst outward. Pure energy. Unstoppable. The ships exploded in silence, turning into showers of silver dust. The light spread across the sky, covering the planet in a calm blue glow. When it was over, the desert was no longer red. It was green. Grass shimmered under the morning light. Tiny flowers opened for the first time in centuries. Sira fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. Mira whispered, "Where is he?" Sira looked at the center of the crater, where only a faint glow remained. A small crystal pulsed there, warm and alive. She picked it up, holding it close to her chest. He's not gone, she said softly. He became part of the code, part of us. The wind carried her voice into the sky, gentle, eternal. And far above, among the fading clouds, a whisper echoed in the light. Life always finds a way. The sun rose over a new world. Where once there had been red dust and broken rock, now soft green fields stretched to the horizon. The air shimmered with life, warm, alive, and filled with tiny motes of glowing light that drifted like fireflies. The planet Vernus 9 had changed forever. Sira stood on a cliff, watching the morning mist roll over the valleys. Her silver skin gleamed softly in the sunlight. Around her, the other Virine women stood silent, awed by what they saw. It's beautiful, Mira whispered. It feels alive, Sira smiled faintly. It is. He made it alive. In her hands, she held the glowing crystal, the one that had formed when Ethan vanished in the blast. It pulsed softly like a heartbeat. Sometimes when the wind was quiet, she thought she could hear his voice, faint like a memory wrapped in light. You gave me purpose. Now let me give you a future. She closed her eyes, holding the crystal close. You did, Ethan. You gave us everything. For days the sky had glowed blue, then slowly faded into gold. The great ships of the Galactic Council were gone, burned away by the energy of the life code. The Council had silenced the Virine for centuries. But one human had rewritten their law with his sacrifice, and now everywhere she looked, life was returning. From the dunes rose new forests, silver trees with leaves that shimmered like stars. Rivers carved their way through the sand, carrying light within their water. Even the wind sounded different, Warmer, kinder. The Vereen were changing too. Their skin glowed softly, but their eyes no longer held pain. They could feel emotions stronger than ever. Joy, sorrow, love. Mira walked up beside Sira, holding a small flower, a real one, alive in her hand. "Do you think humans will ever know what he did?" Sira smiled sadly. "The Council will erase the records. They'll call this planet a loss, a failed colony. But the truth will live in us." She looked at the horizon. "He didn't just save the Vereen. He saved what it means to be alive." A sudden rumble echoed in the distance. Sira turned sharply, not out of fear but curiosity. From the far edge of the valley, glowing shapes were moving through the mist. Not machines, not soldiers. People, Vereen, hundreds of them, men, women, children, walking slowly, their silver skin glinting in the light. They looked confused but peaceful, as if waking from a long dream. Mira gasped. "They're returning." Sira's heart pounded. The code is rebuilding them, from memory, from light. She ran forward, her feet pressing into the soft grass, her eyes wide with tears. When she reached the first of the reborn, a small Vereen girl looked up at her and smiled shyly. "Are you my mother?" the child asked. Sira knelt, her voice breaking. "No, little one, but I will be." The others joined her, surrounding the returning Vereen, guiding them gently into this new world. The desert that had once killed everything now cradled life. Above them, the solar tower, once a cold machine, was now a pillar of light. At its center glowed a familiar blue pattern, shifting like a heartbeat. Sira stared at it, realizing what she was seeing. It was him, Ethan. His mind, his energy, and it fused with the life code. He wasn't gone. He was the world now, she whispered softly. "I can feel you." The wind brushed her hair, warm and gentle. And then, a voice, faint but clear, echoed around her. Sira, her breath caught. "Ethan, you finished it." Tears filled her eyes. "No, you did. You gave us life again." "Not me," the voice said. "Us, humans and Vereen, both part of the same story now." The sky shimmered above them, and she felt his presence everywhere. In the wind, the trees, the rivers. He was part of everything living, every heartbeat on this world. Mira called out, "Sira, look!" Sira turned on her and gasped. Across the valley, small lights were rising from the ground, tiny, glowing orbs drifting upward into the air. They formed patterns in the sky, shapes, symbols, and then words. Life finds a way. It was Ethan's final message, not written in code, not carved in stone, written in the living light of the new world. Sira smiled through her tears. "Goodbye, Ethan Vale," Mira whispered. "He's not gone." Sira nodded. "No, he's home." The Vereen gathered together, their hands linked, their eyes glowing with hope. They began to sing, a soft, low hum that filled the air with warmth. It was the first song of the new world, the sound of rebirth. As the sun climbed higher, the wind carried the sound across the planet, through forests, over rivers, and into the stars. And far beyond the horizon, where the light touched the void, something vast and ancient stirred, as if the universe itself was listening. Because in a galaxy ruled by fear and control, one human had broken the greatest law of all, to prove that compassion was stronger than power. That life once given could never truly be destroyed. He was human and fragile, mortal and flawed. But in the end, it wasn't strength or weapons that saved the stars. It was his heart.